All right. So what do you think, Stephanie? Should we go ahead and get started?
Sure. I think we'll be okay. And then we can just kind of jump everyone in when they arrive.
Okay, great. So welcome everybody to our second El Paso Giving Day workshop. I think most of you know who I am now, but just in case, I am Andrea Macias, the Development Coordinator for the Paso de Norte Community Foundation. This is my first year spearheading El Paso Giving Day, and so I'm very excited and thankful to be working and getting to know you all. I'm also really glad to have support from an El Paso Giving Day committee. We have one of our committee members here today who's going to be presenting on the topic of peer-to-peer fundraising. And so with that being said, I just want to say welcome again. If you're still settling in, we have two questions to sort of get everyone to think. And so we wanted to know for you all to share the name of the friend you invited today, or the name of a friend you want to engage in your Giving Day campaign. And then also a fun little question: what is your favorite candy or chocolate? In case you haven't answered, and then we're going to go ahead and have Stephanie sort of spearhead the conversation today. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Today's speaker. So I've talked a little bit about Stephanie. Stephanie is a local nonprofit consultant and currently serves as the executive director of the City of Socorro's Community Initiative. Stephanie has been a member of El Paso Giving Day since 2019. Thank you, Stephanie. And in the spring of 2022, Stephanie led a successful peer-to-peer fundraiser that raised $13,000 within hours of launching for the Junior League of El Paso Provisional Diaper Dash Project. So welcome, Stephanie, and everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of this workshop. I feel like as fundraisers, we throw around the term peer-to-peer fundraising all the time. And it wasn't until January that I launched that Junior League peer-to-peer fundraiser that I realized that not everyone understands what that means and really how to leverage it. So I'm excited to be on this workshop.
Great. And so we have just our little table of contents for the topics that we're going to be discussing in today's presentation. So we want to go over fundraising and peer 101, sort of just like the basic tips and tricks on what fundraising means and what peer-to-peer fundraising also means. Today, we're also going to go through the process of how to develop your peer-to-peer strategy campaign. We're also going to talk about who your network is within your peer-to-peer fundraising strategy and provide tools and resources to help you be successful when you begin your peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. We'll also, towards the end, have an opportunity for Q&A and questions with Stephanie and myself. And then we'll just highlight our upcoming events and calendar that's to be coming with El Paso Giving Day. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Stephanie.
Great. So on this slide, thank you to everyone for being here. And we're just going to, first couple slides, we'll cover just a little bit of the basics. I think sometimes we get so busy in the middle of working towards our mission and we kind of lose sight of some of the really essentials. And so some of the reasons that we fundraise are to expand our ability to serve, to meet the needs of our clients, to give support, to empower others, to give support to your mission, and then to give other people the opportunity to invest in us. And I feel like these are things that we probably do all the time, but it's more important in peer-to-peer fundraiser to focus on these things because it'll be the kind of the driving factor when you select the people that you'd like to be your peer-to-peer fundraisers. On the next slide, we talk about why donors give. When you kind of think about your current donor list, you could probably sort through that list and think about, somebody might be tied to the mission because one of their relatives was touched by the work that you do, or, they somehow feel like your mission's relevant to them. That kind of puts a little bit of a frame around your donor list. You start to look at who relates to our mission and why. But a lot of times, that the why donors give is pretty easy. You know that the people that are tied to your mission, they're there for a reason. But a lot of times we overlook why donors don't give. And most often it's that they aren't asked to give or aren't involved in the work or in the engagement part of your nonprofit. So sometimes donors don't give because they're not interested in saving a failing nonprofit. And I think that's where, as nonprofits, we always have to frame that our work is continuous. We'll never fundraise enough money because our services are ongoing and there'll always be a need. And just like we have donors, the money comes in, the money goes out, and it needs to continue. And so it's important to make donors feel like they are contributing to the work year round and not just in the month of October during El Paso Giving Day. Another reason why donors don't continue to give is that they're not thanked, recognized, or appreciated, or that they lack confidence in the organization. And so this is where I think El Paso Giving Day serves such an important role for the nonprofits in our area. Is even if you don't have a staff of 5 people doing development or 5 other people doing marketing, you can still leverage the donors that are giving to you on Giving Day by thanking them and doing your process and following through and sending them newsletters and keeping them in the loop with the work that you're doing to keep them engaged. So I'd like to go into peer-to-peer fundraising specifically. And so when you're doing your fundraising, it's transactional in the sense that a donor makes a direct gift to your nonprofit. With peer-to-peer, you have an ambassador of sorts. Give me one second. You have an ambassador of sorts. So they are asking others to make a gift to the nonprofit on their behalf. And so this is where it's interesting because you might already have a lot of really great board members and volunteers and even employees that may not be doing development for your nonprofit, but during Giving Day time, they promote it or they ask their social media friends to help with the cause. Peer-to-peer fundraising goes a step above that to formalize the process. And so there's a little bit more it's a two-way street, right? So we'll go a little bit more in depth, but what you're hoping to do in this process is engage and identify people that you feel have a large network. And it can be somebody at the board level who may have large dollar donor potential, but it could be somebody like a volunteer who doesn't have the means necessary to donate, but they donate their time all the time because they're passionate about your mission. They might have a lot of social media followers that can be contributing $5, $10, $20, and all of that adds up. And so making sure that you formalize the process and you identify that prospect correctly is going to be really important. So on the next slide, we have a graphic for you here, right? So down at the bottom where it says your campaign page, that's how Giving Day generally functions. You have your page, you ask donors to visit you to make their contribution. And normally your supporters would just ask people to visit your campaign page. By setting up a peer-to-peer fundraiser formally, your supporters will go and create their own page, which serves as a sub-page to yours on the El Paso Giving Day platform. And so they'll be able to ask their supporters and their network of friends and family to visit their fundraising page. And so it gives you increased exposure. It also gives you different ways to appeal to the different networks. And really, it unlocks a lot of new donors, potential donors for your nonprofit. So on the next slide, one of the things we talked about was really giving a visual of it. So let's say your board chair is Jane. And so Jane is in the center of the picture here. And so Jane already is a donor. She already gives money to the nonprofit on a regular basis. And so she may have friends and family that she may have talked about your nonprofit about too, but it hasn't had the platform or the ability to really make the ask of them and tell them go and donate or help out or join a cause that I'm passionate about. Giving Day really formalizes that process for you. And so Jane is then able to jump on the El Paso Giving Day page, sign up as a fundraiser, and then share that either by social media, email, or text message. And then she'll send it out to her network of people. And that really makes it easy because, sometimes our networks are people that we talk to every day, but sometimes our networks are people that we've known and they've been on our social media. And even though we don't talk daily, they still are connected to us in one way or another. So this really allows that reach and that donor number, like you can see here, a lot of different donors to multiply very quickly depending on the supporters and the message that is sent out. On the next slide, we've highlighted some of the key steps for setting up your peer-to-peer fundraiser. And this is just an overview, but structure your goals in terms of how much dollar-wise do you anticipate you would want to fundraise or receive from a peer-to-peer fundraiser. I think what's going to be important here is looking at it in terms of the number of people and how much you want them to give. So I think if you started with something, this is your first time, you've never really asked anybody on your board to fundraise on your behalf, you might want to say, if every board, we have 10 board members, if every board member asks 5 people to give $10, multiply that and then make that your goal. But I think putting it in terms of how much you're expecting each person or how many people they have to spread the word to raise that money is going to be really important to making an achievable goal that will empower everybody. Because what you'll see is if you ask somebody to fundraise $100 on your behalf, and they promote it during early giving week and the donations come in and they're coming in at 120, they're going to feel so empowered to keep that big put, to keep giving that push throughout that week and make that, double their goal or triple their goal depending on how the traction is going. The next key step is recruiting participants. And I think we'll go into this a little bit further, but you'll also want to focus on your campaign page, which, usually we have a workshop about. And I think that's something that if you're a nonprofit that's participated in Giving Day year after year after year, we tend to just use the same page that was there last year or don't refresh it or renew it. And that's going to be really important to making sure that your peer-to-peer fundraisers are having great content that's relevant, that's new, and that's also is true to what your organization looks like now, because we know that pre-COVID, our organization pages may have looked a little bit different. Our the services that we provide may have been, delivered differently than they are now. So making sure that your page is up to date with the services you currently provide is going to be really important. And then empower. And so we'll go into that also on the next slide. So for recruiting participants, I've mentioned this kind of throughout. I feel like it's really relevant because this is where I feel what you'll take out of this workshop is really start to think about who are the people you'd like to ask. You can make a large ask throughout all of your board or through all of your volunteers and say, who wants to help us fundraise? But you're going to see better results when you target maybe 2 to 5 people in your nonprofit and you say, hey, look, we're really going to start to look at our Giving Day strategy. We're about 2 months out, 6 weeks out. And so we really like to get a commitment from our peer-to-peer fundraisers. And we'd like to start working on that strategy. And so what you'll want to do is you'll want to highlight some people on your board that can be like the star board members that are going to really serve as the example of how peer-to-peer fundraising should be done, how active board members can help with the fundraising. And then you might want to focus on a couple of volunteers that are there for everything, that can speak about your mission and the work you do and are very passionate about it, or that might have the reach on social media or in their networks to be able to share it, but really highlighting, it may even be somebody that you provide a service to. I know last time we had Lupe from the Humane Society speak, and she was talking about people just love their puppies, and when they adopt puppies, their lives change. And so having somebody who did adopt a puppy be a peer-to-peer fundraiser that feels really strongly about that could also be a really great story for a peer-to-peer fundraiser. But I think really highlighting the couple of key people, when you speak to them, ask them, make sure that they know that you're going to help them out with making sure that they're signed up on the Giving Day page for their peer-to-peer fundraiser. You can script them with some of the things. Obviously, if they're able to give a statement on their profile, and we'll go through that in a little bit about why your mission is passionate, they're passionate about your mission, that'll be great. But it's also important that they feel like they're going to be receiving content from the nonprofit to be able to share and speak knowledgeably about the nonprofit. So on the next slide on encouraging participation. So now that you've kind of identified your key peer-to-peer fundraisers, what I would say is to meet with them individually, kind of look at some of the assets that they might already have. So one of the social media is like a really great tool, of course, to reach people. But don't leave out those board members who are not social media savvy. You can still make their pages. They can still send out emails and text messages with their link for their peer-to-peer fundraiser page. It's not something that necessarily that social media is the only avenue that they would be able to spread the word for this. So I think making sure that each individual understands what their goal is in terms of how many donors or how many dollars is going to be very important. And then also recognizing their participation. So maybe if you have the reach on your social media before Giving Day of highlighting those peer-to-peer fundraisers and maybe highlighting why they are so engaged with your nonprofit or why your mission is important to them, I think that is a really great way to encourage them. It creates some accountability and a support network. You know, they feel like I can speak on behalf of this organization because I'm passionate, because I'm empowered to, and then they can ask their networks to give and then see that they're being recognized for their work. So in terms of providing resources, this is really, I feel like when we say resources, it sounds like this like list of things and all this data that you need to provide, but really it's photos, you know, things that you would kind of provide to your marketing department, you know, like a photo of an event that you do or some project that you may have done or a recap of an event where you talk about how many clients were served or how many items were distributed. Giving them these kind of things, especially if they were a part of that event, is going to be really helpful. You know, when Andrea mentioned that, I helped spearhead the junior leadership, the Junior League of El Paso Provisional Diaper Dash. One of the things we highlighted is before the peer-to-peer fundraiser, everyone knew that they had to post whatever I was going to send them, but not until they saw the language that said, hey, I'm a part of Junior League because of, and then had a reason. And then we talked about the problem of diaper insecurity amongst babies in El Paso. Then people started to realize kind of like, oh, okay, I see now why she's doing this or why all the different participants are doing it. So I think scripting them with some of those things is great. You'll see that the people that are empowered to speak freely about why they're involved with you will end up tweaking it or will end up creating their own blurb, which is fantastic. But you might also have those people who feel like they might need a little bit more guidance in creating that content. And so being willing to script some of that for them is going to be helpful.
I also just want to add on the El Paso Giving Day website, if you visit the resources tab, there is a option for you to view peer-to-peer fundraising resources. And so that includes some really basic templates and toolkits, and then a little one-sheeter on what the process you can take when you're engaging with peer-to-peer fundraisers. And so I just want to encourage everyone that those resources are available, downloadable and viewable for you all to access as well.
So here on the El Paso Giving Day page, there is, we'll go through the website. Up at the top, there where you click find, you'll be able to click peer-to-peer fundraisers. If you already have a profile created on Giving Day, which all your donors are usually prompted, supporters are prompted to create a Giving Day profile, they'll have a section on the back end that'll say select an organization to fundraise for. And so that's where they'll click and they'll select your nonprofit. It'll prompt them to edit their peer-to-peer fundraiser page. And so this is where they'll enter in the reason why they support your organization. So this could be a story about how the work you do affected their family, or you provided a service, or you're giving them an outlet to give back to the community. Something of that sort can be here. If it's a board member, they can talk about that why they're involved with the organization and the strong board leadership and how, you're a trustworthy organization and in terms of the governance side of things. And so this will be where they'll really want to fill that out. And so on this next slide, you'll see an example, our friend Sylvia Hernandez over at Loreto Academy. And so she put up a picture with all the different college flags because her program aims to get scholarships for students to be at school for their entire high school years and then graduate and be accepted, admitted into a college. And so this here is her story, and that's what it'll look like. It's nothing, it really, the story is what's important on here. It's nothing too tedious. It's not a lot of different fields. There's definitely more fields on the organization page than there is on the peer-to-peer fundraiser page. So after they've created their profile, they will be listed on the peer-to-peer fundraiser page. And so here you'll see from previous years, some people that had signed up as peer-to-peer fundraisers. And so as you can tell, when you don't upload any photo, it's a default Giving Day logo. But you'll see here, some of them put up the building of the nonprofit, some of them put a selfie, others put a group photo. And so I think the more of the story the picture tells, the better for the peer-to-peer fundraiser. So in terms of the benefits, I just want to remind you, I think one of the things that I'm sure every person on here has had a conversation about is how do we engage our board? And I think when we talked about peer-to-peer fundraisers, that's kind of the first thought. And I saw some here in the chat, people put, we wanted to engage board members. And so this is really a great way to do that, but it needs to be a little bit more of a formalized process. It can't just be asking board members to promote the Giving Day page or to ask people to give. It's about creating their peer-to-peer fundraiser page and then asking their networks to give through their page. And so what that really does, it unlocks donors that may have only given to you based on your mission to now give to you based on their association with your peer-to-peer fundraiser. And so sometimes our networks don't participate in philanthropy, not because they don't want to or they can't, they just don't know where their entry point is or why they would give. And so knowing somebody and saying, well, my friend serves on the board of that organization, so I think I'm going to help that cause, really is a great way, a driving factor for the peer-to-peer fundraisers. And so that here on the benefits, that's one of the ideas, is that people are more likely to engage with someone they trust if they're advocating for your cause. Peer-to-peer extends your reach and grows your support base, and then fundraisers will become much more engaged in your mission. It's an amazing feeling to give a donation to a nonprofit, but it's an even better feeling to fundraise money for an organization based on your support, your influence, your network, and your reach that you have. And so what you'll see is those people are not only going to feel so much pride for being able to raise money for you, but they're going to feel so much more pride in the way that they were able to provide others an entry point to philanthropy. And so it's really, really a win-win all around if it's done correctly. I hope I didn't go too fast. Do you have any questions or any thoughts or on peer-to-peer fundraising?
Now would be a great time to sort of open the discussion and ask any questions you might have about your peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. Stephanie and I are here to support you all, and we hope that you've really been able to absorb all of the information we've shared thus far. It's probably the easiest fundraising strategy because we all have family, we all have friends, we work with our board, we work with our staff. So it's really the easiest way to get people engaged and ask them a really small request and have them, support your organization and your mission. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and drop our questions into the chat. And then if you don't have any questions, we do want to ask you all a question. In one word, what are you walking away with today? What is one thing you learned from the presentation? And then again, who are you going to ask to help you this year in your peer-to-peer fundraising campaign? So let's get that chat active with some questions and answers.
And Andrea, I'd also really like to hear if anyone has participated in the peer-to-peer fundraiser section last year. If you have something to share about any positive experiences or maybe some struggles that you experienced while doing the peer-to-peer fundraiser last year, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and unmute yourself and share any thoughts.
We didn't necessarily participate in the peer-to-peer for the Giving Day last year, but we do a peer-to-peer fundraising with our walk. And I don't know if this was said, and I don't know if I missed it, but with your peer-to-peer fundraisers, it's also a wonderful opportunity to use their fundraising and how much they're fundraising on your social media and as part of your marketing. And so highlighting your peer-to-peer fundraisers on social media as they meet their goals and as they're raising money on El Paso Giving Day is another good way to spread the word, because you're connecting prospective donors with a face of someone who truly cares about your organization and may have a different story about why they're supporting. So I just wanted to drop that in because I think that's been really helpful for us for our walk.
Yeah, that's great, Isidro. I think sometimes nonprofits kind of have a double-edged sword because you want to promote the services and the faces of the people you're serving, but oftentimes that's really difficult to do because they're often vulnerable populations. And so I think it's great to be able to put a face still to your organization through the fundraisers that are looking to help you expand the service. So that's great.
I do see a question from Victoria, and so she's asking, are there any statistics you've seen in El Paso on how much the typical peer-to-peer fundraising campaign raises? And so
Oh, that's a tough one. I think Andrea, we'd have to pull the data and check that out because I don't know that we've been I think last year was probably the year with the largest peer-to-peer fundraisers group in El Paso Giving Day, but I'll share with you just in terms of like numbers, right? So like the Junior League peer-to-peer fundraiser, there was 21 fundraisers, and each girl was asked to raise $100. And so within hours that we put it up, four people gave $20 and we were near the goal, and then each girl was raising their goal. And so it really, it just took giving everybody a small goal and then blowing it out of the water quickly, and to realize that they really had so much value in their network. And so I think, Victoria, a good starting point for you would be to go through like your social media page, your following, look at who's your friends, what kind of friend networks do they have, or maybe the people that are constantly volunteering at your nonprofit, their passion for this and how they could speak to it, I think would be a really good starting point. But I'd say not until you really run this for the first year can you gauge kind of the value of your network. That's a good one. Say thank you. Yeah.
yeah.
We always send out our donor thank you. Thank you for your gift. But this is really a great time to show that gratitude. And then, like I said, it's really just about empowering everybody to participate in philanthropy.
Any other questions, comments? Have you thought of a new person that you're going to ask to help? If not, we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. Stephanie, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
No.
So, Stephanie, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about this, or if you'd like me to talk about this.
Well, I just wanted to say there's a special announcement. I told Andrea, I'm like, we should really announce this. This is so great. And so I know as a fundraiser, we always come to Giving Day looking out for those power hours and all the prizes and incentives. And so if you are doing other things right now and multitasking, take a quick break so that you can listen in on the news that Andrea has to share.
Yeah, we're super duper excited. So we do have a new prize. We've transitioned out the Nifty 50 and have replaced it with a peer-to-peer superstar prize. We felt like it was really important to bring people back to El Paso. We are based in El Paso. Our friends and family are hopefully in El Paso. And so we found it interesting a lot of the feedback was leveraging how you can use your peer-to-peer fundraising campaign to bring in more funds. And so one of the things Stephanie talked about earlier in the presentation is like gamification and bringing a competitive edge to El Paso Giving Day. And so I think this is a really great way to have your friends and family get a little bit competitive with one another, be a little bit more competitive within your organization and other organizations. And so we have this peer-to-peer superstar prize, and essentially the rules and requirements are that the organization that raises the largest amount of online donations total from peer-to-peer fundraisers will win the Superstar Prize. It'll begin during early giving all the way through Giving Day. It is a prize amount of $1,500, and the winner will be announced on social media. So we really hope that you feel inspired to make an ask with your family, friends, spouses, staff, board, colleagues, and really get them engaged to participate in a fundraising campaign. And yeah, hopefully win the big prize. And so we have a question from Kristen. To be counted, the peer-to-peer fundraisers have to have their own personal pages, correct? Yes. So the organization that has the largest amount of donations for all of their fundraising campaigns will win the largest prize. Do we have any questions? Is everyone excited? We hope that this is a good change to our campaign, and like we mentioned, really leverages the competitive factor as well. Largest number of donations or dollars? Largest number of dollars. So for multiple fundraising pages, I know it gets a little bit confusing, but total amount of funds from all fundraising campaigns for your organization. Okay, so I guess we can also talk about our upcoming workshops, and I'll hand it over to Stephanie so she can pour us in a little bit. But I also just want to add that all of our workshops are proudly sponsored by El Paso Electric. They do take place from noon to 1:30. I think we've had a little bit of hiccups with our add to calendar, but I just want to remind everybody that you can visit the website, and the Zoom link is listed on every workshop. So hopefully you all have no trouble accessing it in the future. But yeah, Stephanie, do you want to add anything about our upcoming workshops?
I would say, we've kind of talked about content today and scripting your peer-to-peer fundraisers. And so because there is a prize involved, I would say to start thinking about that marketing strategy and some of the content you're going to provide them with. And so you might want to attend the September 15 workshop on marketing, and maybe think about inviting staff members or volunteers who also are engaged in your marketing efforts. That'll be a really great one to attend. And then of course, October 6th, gearing up for Giving Day. I know we have quite a few committee members that will be assisting with that presentation. And so it should be a fun one to attend. And thank you so much for being a good audience and indulging us with some feedback. I think on the next slide here, we have the calendar of events. It's still really, really great to participate in these events. And especially if you're going to plan to have a peer-to-peer fundraisers, inviting them to these opportunities so that they can draw some attention. Like, it's a great way for them to come out on September 6th and gear up for their Giving Day asks by posting about them being at the Kendra Scott or the El Paso Burrito Day. That'll kind of be a really great introduction for them to say, hey, I'm supporting this organization, be on the lookout. So this great planning for them to be able to come out to some of these things and kind of make it fun for them.
Yeah, in September, we have a really busy schedule in September. So like Stephanie mentioned, Kendra Scott and El Paso Burrito Day are taking place September 6th. We are taking over the La Vita shopping center near North Mesa on the west side of El Paso. So yeah, bring a friend, bring your family, take some photos. It's a great way to build content for your campaign this year. And then of course we have our third workshop on mobilizing your marketing campaign. We'll have a really great speaker for that presentation. And then our September event on September 20th is a Chuco Relic pop-up event. And so this is our second year partnering with Chuco Relic. We'll have a photo op opportunity for you all to build content again. And then if you take a photo at Chuco Relic, you'll be entered to win a $250 prize sponsored by that business. And so we're really excited to support local and hope to see everyone at these September events. Of course, in October, we're going to have our fourth and final workshop. We will be hosting a early giving day kickoff event similarly to years past. We are looking at hosting at Alamo Draft House. That early giving day event will work in conjunction with another project at the Boston North Bay Community Foundation called the Theater Tank. So it's going to be super exciting and a lot of fun. And then, of course, we're going to have early giving week, October 13th through October 19th. So just a reminder to really promote and engage your donors and remind them of these dates. And then finally, October 20th is the big day of giving. So I'll pass the giving day market calendars, Thursday, October 20th. And then we have some little things that are in progress right now, but we are looking at partnering with Poke Bar for another pop-up event. We'll have some details to share really soon, in addition to a special El Paso Giving Day after party. So those details are to come, but I really invite you to mark your calendars for September and plan to attend. And I think that's about it. So I just wanted to say thank you, everybody. We'll hang on for just a little bit if there's any other questions. But I also want to say thank you to Stephanie for hosting our workshop today. And just give her another little round of applause for all of her great work.
Oh, thank you. Giving Day is my favorite committee. It's so much opportunity, I think, for all nonprofits to really get involved. So I'm excited for another good giving year.
All right. If there's no questions, we'll go ahead and complete today's session. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you again very soon. So have a great rest of your day.